Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. So, if you can hear me, I want to see your comments. Just say your name and if you can hear me clearly. So, today we're going to be talking about film communication. Also, somebody help me post on the group. We are on the road. We're going to start with Samburu. We are doing location scouting for our feature film. So, I hope you can hear me clearly. um, ZDB. I'm here with ZDB to give me a different perspective. And there is ZDB. Hi. Yeah, ZDB is driving. And we're going to be able to give you guys feedback as we go on throughout the day. We're going to give you feedback on the wonderful locations that we'll be shooting the short film and feature film. But this class was just supposed to handle matters communication. Let me see your comments if you can hear me. Can you write comments and tell me whether you can hear me clearly? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so tell the others to join in. Let's give them like a minute so that we can start our class. Also, write your name so that I can know who's tuned in to the class. And also, if you have any question that anything that you also need me to clarify during this class, I'll be doing a bit of clarification about the storyboard as well. um, and I'll also be talking a bit about why it's important to communicate in this way, and that's why it's very important to understand what is the bottom line of the communication that we need to do during the entire production process, especially at this stage. Now, one of the examples of things I can give you is like, look now at the US elections. You find that communication has played a very major role in who wins and who doesn't win. So, in my opinion, the way people communicate in the film industry, and especially when you're all together working in a project, that's very important. And I'm going to go through the specific areas of communication that are key in the 5 stages of production and development. So, as we all know, and today I will not be able to share my screen because I'm hosting live from the phone, so I'm not able to actually talk to you more and show you the slides and everything. But later on, I can share some of the slides that would help explain what I'm talking about, and you can be able to further understand more details about this. But one of the things that I'm talking to you about today is that in the development stage, we all know what happens. So in the development stage, one of the things that happens is you write your creative idea. The moment you write your story down and you write your creative idea and put it together, that's the first communication you're doing. You're communicating your message. And the way you communicate will even determine how many people can actually participate in making your film better. So, I'll talk to you about a few things that you need to communicate in the development stage. First, one of the most important thing, because if you're doing film development, one of the most important things that you need to do is also to be able to pitch and get people rallying behind you and supporting your film. So, if you want to use your idea and your story to be able to pitch the film and get very good feedback from the donors who are going to work with you, one of the communication documents that you need to get very, very right, that is your synopsis. One paragraph that explains your story. Now, I was reading the synopsis, like for instance, for Situ Film, and if you've seen all the videos that we've done, even with everybody, like Sebastian, with Femi, with you students, one message that we've been selling in our story is the fact that we are not just making a film for entertainment. We are making a film to educate and to entertain. So that needs to come out in your synopsis. Okay. The second thing that needs to come up in your synopsis as well is the real story of the film, where you need to be able to explain the real story of your film as you're communicating very simply without giving out your story. The key word there is you make sure that you don't give out your full story, but you're still communicating and that you're still able to give people the synopsis or the summary of your story. Let me give you an example. Our film about maternal health, the short film, of course, we are saying we want what issues do we want addressed in our synopsis. One, we want to address that we are advocating for better maternal health care. That's one thing we want to address in that. It must be part of what you're doing in the film. The second thing that you want to communicate in that synopsis of the short film is the fact that we are doing that through a real life drama of a woman who found herself having to face, maternal health challenges, and the end was almost dreadful or something like that. So you're also selling the real story. Now, please note that, and this is an advice I'm going to give you, many people don't like to read. So you can give people, it's possible that you give your donors a document, but they won't read it or they won't care to read it because you're the one who needs people. There's a Swahili saying that says, mwenye haja huenda choo. That means the person was, the need goes to relieve themselves. It's not the other way around. And so it is up to you as a filmmaker to be a great communicator. So when it comes to your synopsis, some people will make a decision whether to crew in your film or not based on the synopsis. Some people will make a decision whether to fund your film or not based on the way you've written your synopsis. So that calls for you to be very, very meticulous in the way you write your treatment, your synopsis, which is like a one paragraph. Remember also, your synopsis is another communication tool. Like, for instance, right now, we know our main actor, right? We want to make a poster from C2, especially because we are fundraising for the film C2, right? So we want to make a poster. So when you want to make a poster, one of the things that will be there in your communication in your poster is the synopsis of your movie. When you want to submit your film to a film festival, one of the mandatory requirements, even on the Film Freeway website, is to also be able to have a synopsis. So that's the first communication document that you need to be able to make your film and to be able to be successful in whatever you're doing in production. Because, as we said, film is business. And by film being business, then what we are saying is that at the end of the day, if your synopsis can convince as many people as possible to come on board and support your film, that's good. Now, I'll give you a real life scenario. And I recorded the Zoom meeting between us and Gregory Ojefwa. Gregory Ojefwa, one of the reasons why he's acting in our film is because he feels that as a brand and as an actor, he associates with the theme of our movie, which is police brutality and ending violent extremism. Remember, how far you go in life is based on how you communicate. And in communicating, you need to have something called emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is knowing who am I pitching to and what do they care about. So you find when we have a balance between civil advocacy in our film and we also have the business balance, we are attracting entrepreneurs to work with us. We're also attracting the non-profit sector and the advocacy sector to also work with us in our film through the way we communicate. Please remember the bottom line is to show people I'm not making this film to make money. I'm making this film to entertain you. I'm making this film to educate you. I'm making this film to advocate for the rights of people who have lost their rights for many, many years. So that's very, very, very important thing that we need to understand when it comes to development stage communication. So that's number one. Number two, now, you before you communicate in the filmmaking process, you need to understand who am I communicating to? Because in the filmmaking process, we have like three kinds of audiences, and I'm going to list them down so that you can know them. One of the audiences that we have, of course, is the business audience. The people who are interested in investing in the film industry and they can come through for your film. So that's the first audience you're looking at. The second audience you're looking at is the people who also, you know, are interested in the creative making of the film. The producers, the directors, the production designers. You want them to come on board. The writers. You want them to come on board and support you. So that's another group of people that you might be appealing to with the work that you're doing. So that's very important. Then the other group of people that you're also interacting with is the viewers. You want to be communicating to the viewers. We are making this film because the viewers are your customers. The viewers will be buying your film. So you need to know, who am I communicating to? Because depending on who you're communicating to, it will determine the communication documents that you need to be able to push forward your communication. For instance, to give you an example, when you're communicating to the viewers, what do you use? You use flyers, posters, teasers, trailers. Those are the things that you communicate with the viewers to prepare them psychologically that you're coming up with the film. Now, remember, when you're communicating like this with your viewers, you also want to tell them why they will watch your film. So you marketing starts in development stage. You start letting people know this is what you're doing. And this is when you should also be able to open a Facebook channel, YouTube channel, and other channels to make sure that you can make your film and that people know that you're making that film. And that's when now when you even do a fundraiser, people know there's a project that you're doing. People are expecting something good from you. You keep posting the behind the scenes, you keep posting the video promotions, etc, so that people know you're doing this and that and you need their support. So that is to the viewers. So the people who will potentially buy the movie, those are people you want to keep communicating to, even in the development stage. When you just come up with the idea to make the story and you solidify it and you're pitching it, you need to, you need to start communicating if you know that you're for sure going to make this film. The other thing that you need to communicate, as I've said, is communicate with creatives. Talk to a few friends that you know in the creative industry. Tell them I'm making this movie. Do you want to have a look at the story? How can you come on board and support in this production? So when you're able to approach people that you know, your acquaintances, that can end up saving you a lot of budget in your film because you've done it early in advance during the development stage. And some people would be willing to come on board in one way or another. Somebody will say, I'll give you a drone and I'll be your drone pilot. And you'll see that in our film because a lot of our film is like a 15 million Kenya shillings budget film, but we are only going to need to raise like 2 to 3.5 million Kenyan shillings to be able to make the two films that we are making. And why is that? Because we've built up our relationships with people and now we are able to get support. Somebody is bringing the equipment. Sebastian is also bringing cameras. Femi is coming with lights. And this is because the first thing we did was to talk with the creatives. So you can't make a film by just thinking about the viewers and thinking you can work alone. You have to work with a team. That's very, very important. Then the third part of it, which is also very, very key, is the fact that you also want to be thinking about, you know, how am I going to communicate with my investors? Because when you're communicating with your investors, those guys want to see more details. First, they'll see the synopsis, they'll see the catchy phrase, like the phrase that you have for your film. Then they'll decide whether they want to invest or whether they're interested in the idea. Then they'll give you the appointment to come and meet with them. But please note that the business aspect of the film, those guys are interested to see how can they get value from supporting you to make your film. They don't care about the message. They care about, are you going to sell the film? Do you have a plan? Who are the partners that you have? They care about such things. So when you get such things, nailed out, it's very easy to attract them. They expect you to have a financing plan. Like most of the time, and I'll tell you this: when you're making a film, most of the time you'll not be funded by one person. You might be funded by six people, so they want to know who else is funding you. Because I can fund you and I'm not able to afford the whole budget of your movie, then that means that I have a very high chance of losing my money, because I don't know whether you're going to be able to raise the rest of the budget. So they want to know who else is funding, who else is supporting this film, who else is supporting the idea for this film that you're making. That's very, very important for the investors. The other thing they need to know is, how much money are you asking for? They need your business plan. So you find, again, when you want to communicate with your investors, that is when you're pitching. Again, you need to think about what kind of material do you need to start communicating with partners, collaborators, investors. And when I say business, well, this is what I mean. I mean that you might even get somebody to give you something in kind, and in return, somebody can say, I'll provide all the meat for your film. In return, you'll do product placement for my butchery. All right? Or somebody will say, I'll give you buses to transport the staff, but in return, you'll feature my buses in your film. So it will be product placement. So this is quite important part of the filmmaking process that we are having. That's very, very important. The other thing is, and this is also very important, is the business plan. What's your experience? What are the buyers? And I'm going to give you a good example of what I'm using for pitching. So I asked Femi to send me a video. Then I also asked you students to send me videos. We edited that into a video. I asked the actor to send me a video. I did a video myself, because investors want to see evidence. When you tell them Brian Ogola is a part of our film, they want to see the evidence that really and truly Brian Ogola is part of the film. So they want to see a video from him or a contract from him. You communicate very much formally. And I want you to note this, and you can write in your notebook somewhere, that sometimes film is like government. There is nothing you do in film without a letter. As we are talking, Helene is expecting a letter from me. Somebody else is expecting a letter from me. Because filmmaking is such a formal process that it involves even a lot of contracts, and it involves bringing other people on board to believe in your vision and work with your vision. These people need to clearly know what's their benefit. For instance, even if you're a student in YFP Africa, this is something I was just talking about with ZDB right now. And it's about, what's the benefit you're getting by being in YFP Africa. And for me, to be honest, and I'll be open with you today, I don't like teaching my students to work for free. And for that reason, I sat down with my partners and we agreed our students are not going to work for free in our film. They are going to have a share in our conglomerate company, where they are going to be getting 20% of any gross returns of the film. And that will be great, because it's something like you're also getting knowledge. We agree that's a big value that you're getting, but apart from that, you're also getting some financial leverage. You're also getting title credit and all that. So those documentation in film are very important, and they form a huge part of film communication. Now, I want to go back to where I was talking to you about the communication in development stage of the filmmaking process. So in development stage, you look at your goals. What do you want? You want to start getting the word out there that your film is happening. You want to create a buzz amongst your friends and professionals so that they can support you in making the film. And the other thing you want to do, which is very, very key and important, is making sure that you also convince the investors to work with you in development stage and raise all your budget before you go to pre-production. So those are the three things. And as long as you know, communication is great. As long as you always know who am I talking to. And in terms of who am I talking to, let me just wear my okay. Okay. So you need to know who am I talking to. So once you know who am I talking to, it becomes very, very important then to know what do I need to talk to them. And that's what communication is all about. And one more reminder about development stage that I've said, you need to remember that film is like government. Everything in film is formal, and anything that you have not signed, if you're an actor, for example, you've not signed your contract. That's not right. So if you've not signed your contract, like you are nobody. You can't negotiate even if you're not paid. You can't sue the producer for violating your rights. You can't do anything, even if you're killed on that set. You don't have a right because you don't have a contract. These are some very important filmmaking communication documents that really go a long way in making you not only a filmmaker but a professional filmmaker. Now, let me give you some few secrets because I've been giving you a lot of the secrets behind my great fundraising strategies and my great distribution plans. So when we started doing YFP Africa, I communicated immediately that we are doing this to all my friends around the world. I told them, would you be interested? Then, of course, out of like 50 friends, I got like 20 friends who said, hey, I'm so interested. And it was during the quarantine time. And that's how today we can be able to say we've been able to bring so many people on board to feel a part of the YFP family, to train you. And some of them are even coming to Kenya to make a film with you. It's because of pitching early, because people have their ear planned out very early, and people want to always know that if you're doing a project, don't come to us last minute when you get a problem. Come to us early before and tell us what you're doing. See if we'll be interested in partnering and something like that. So that will be very, very key thing that you need to look out for when it comes to filmmaking. Okay? I hope you've understood that, and I hope that is quite clear. Now, I want to go to my next point. My next point is, if you communicate properly in development stage, you're going to get the most valuable people on your film. So what's the goal of communication in development stage? And if you have a question, please feel free to type. I can be able to answer the question and talk to you about it. And also, if you have a comment, feel free to also type in your comment as we move on. I'll be happy to respond. So um, I want to go to the next point. So communication determines the quality of your team. Like when we were communicating, because we knew this was an African class, I want to give you a good example of my strategies. You come to see that when we went to our Facebook page, we promoted it to the African audience so that we could attract the kind of students that we wanted to join our class and that we wanted to work with. Now we are also slowly building the Young African Filmmakers Network, giving it a structure and all that, making sure that we're also keeping young African filmmakers, synergized and working together and knowing what they're doing. Okay. So those are things that just start happening when you have a strategy and when you understand what you're doing and what you're supposed to be doing for the film. So it's not just, things don't just happen. You have to, kind of really invest in those things for those things to happen. Okay? So that's one thing. Then also, I wanted to talk to you about something else. The better your communication is in your film, the better the results of your film will be. Because if you get a high quality team, well diverse, then you'll be able to work well. Like now, even when you look at our student team, it's also diverse. And it's also not just anybody, because we're very specific when picking. It's not just anybody who can join YFP, anybody who can work with our film. No, you have to be very strategic. And you know me to be a very strategic person when it comes to filmmaking. And this does not come just like that, it comes with a very long period of experience that I've had. So I know quite well what I need to do to be able to make, a film better and bigger. And that's what exactly you're seeing. The investment, the time, the networks are coming in play. Because first, for you to communicate, you also need to know, communicate with a goal. You're communicating so that you achieve a particular goal. When I wanted you guys to join the class, I communicated to attract you guys to join the class. When you join the class, now I started communicating to train you so that, at the end of the day, we're able to make a professional film. Now that we're in the production stage, I'm not communicating about YFP Africa. I'm communicating about in situ film. I'm communicating about mahali pa kuzaliwa. I'm asking people, would you be interested? I'm selling the story. And the more proof I have, the more I fix the business. The more proof I don't have, the more I'm not able to fix the business part of it. So this will be very, very important thing for you to realize. So actually, the reason why we're in pre-production now is because of that communication. Communication is the key. And I'm going to tell you, I know most of you have been wondering, why is Teacher Rachel telling us to do all these documents in pre-production? So I'm coming quickly to pre-production to show you how important is it for you to be able to plan accordingly for your pre-production, to be able to communicate effectively during pre-production. Let me tell you something. They say in the entire world, the most important resource in the world is not money, it's human resource. And that's why, to be honest, they say your network is your net worth. And I agree with the people who say that, because if you don't know your team, if you don't know the niche of your team, then you'll not be able to come up with a great product. So now in development stage, we're able to get the money, and you are able to get the most important resource, which is human resource. Now, you can't force people to work, even if they are benefiting, even if they are being paid. You have to have a lot of high value emotional intelligence when working with people. First, and this is something I was also discussing this morning, you have to be able to show everybody in your team that they are needed. You know, I want you guys to type this for someone else to see. Someone in the YFP Africa family right now. That we need you to make our film a success. Type this so that the other people can see that they are needed. Don't think that you can do it without other people. Make other people feel needed. The other thing is, be able to identify what is the strength of each and everybody in your production. What is their strength? Okay? Maximize on their strength. If you see this person is not very good in documentation, do you know the hardest thing that is there in the world is to be able to teach an adult something that they've not learned by themselves? Now you want to train them how to do it. My friend, you will suffer a lot. And again, you will burn bridges with everyone because of that. Okay, so you need to be able to know, okay, this is the team that I have. Now we are talking about communication in pre-production stage. So you need to be able to know, this is the team I have. You need to take some time to bond. You can't know your team unless you bond with them. So if you are head of department and your department is failing, one of the main areas where you're failing is communication. And I'll talk to you outright right now, not only because of this, because it's professional to learn how to communicate, you know. And in YFP Africa, as you know, we don't treat you as our student, we treat you as a teammate. We are all working towards the same goal. There is no student teacher relationship here, that whatever the teacher says is the final thing. We treat you, we need you to make this film a success. If you're not there, this film will lack something that you could have brought on board to make it much better. Because the reason why you're in this YFP Africa family, to be honest, is because at least you have a talent, you have a skill, you have a passion to do something. That's communication. You need to communicate. And in pre production, it's a very intense stage of production. That's one thing I want you guys to know. It's a very intense stage where you can even disagree with your entire team, where a whole production which is funded, people can disagree and not even be able to continue with the production of that film. Pre production is the stage where you're planning your film, and you need to be very accurate. You need to be very intentional and deliberate to accommodate every team member to do something. That's when the first communication you need to do clearly. And that's what I did, is to communicate to people, what do you expect people to do? Don't just sit down and assume everybody in your team knows what they're supposed to do. Communicate to people what they're supposed to do. Give everybody in your department a job description. Tell them, this is what you expected to do. Also, give them a forecast. It's called a time forecast. Tell them, this is what you expected to do, and you're supposed to deliver by this date. And in case you have any question, you're open to write me anytime so that I can assist you to do that. Remember, here it's not about being bossy, it's about communication. So you find you can be like, for instance, in the music department, or in the production design department, or in the production department, or as a director. But if you don't tell your team, you just tell them, do a storyboard. What do you mean, guys? Tell them more. As a director, tell them in the storyboard, this is what I expect. This is the format I've selected. As a leader, it's your responsibility to make the most complex decision in your department, and then just give people a plan. People work well with a plan. I'm one of those people. I can't work without a plan. I have been planning to go location scouting, and just one mistake that the person who was going to do for us a big accommodation in Nakuru did. And I changed my mind and I quickly moved on, because I can tell, like, if I work with this person like this, they're going to be a problem to my production. Quickly, emotional intelligence, move on, go, and make your production better. So the first thing, just as a reminder, so we've already spoken about development stage. We've said development stage is all about knowing who to communicate to, who you need to give your message, whether it's the audience, whether it's the business people who are going to support your film, or whether it's your creative team, the fellow creatives who can assist you in the production. And then, of course, you look forward to get the money. Then once you get the money, now you get to pre-production. And when you're in pre-production, the first communication you need to do is give people a job description. Let people know, why am I here? What is my job? If you fail at doing that, people will not be needed. People will not know that there is value they can add. People will not research. And and remember, on this point, I've also added that don't tell people only what to do. Tell them what to do, and within what timeline, and within which standards. Let me ask you guys, are you the kind of people who give somebody an assignment without telling them the strategy and measures? You know, when you don't tell your team, these are my measures. For instance, if I don't tell my camera team, I'm not going to shoot in full HD. I want a minimum of 4K for this production. My camera team can as well go and decide. We are going to shoot this thing in HD 1080, 1920 by 1080. So again, you need to be very clear. Tell them the structures, tell them the rules of working in your group, and tell them the deadlines of your work. When you don't do that, that's when you get fired. Because for me, if anything goes wrong, I fire the leader. And that's where you see, besides Roger and all these other leaders, Esther, Crystal, Samuel and Chimunya, and all the other leaders in our film, besides them coming and giving a good report and being very active in the class, whenever anything goes wrong, I shout at them because it's their failure to communicate. Communicate with your team. If your team is not responding, know what is their problem. And when you know what's their problem, try to work with them, try to solve their problem, try to find a solution instead of complaining that my team is not responding. Be a communicator, talk to them, show them the benefits, tell them that we need you to make this a success. Otherwise, when you just keep firing everyone you're working with, you're going to be left with nobody, because you're always going to have people in a team either who are having a particular problem or who are not understanding this is the way I'm supposed to be doing this job, and I can't do it right now because I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. So sometimes people don't deliver because they don't understand the assignment. Write it down if possible, send it on email, send it to their personal WhatsApp. Don't assume that everybody reads, whatever you're saying. Don't assume that everybody is reading that. Hey, ZDB, slow down. I'm getting scared. Yeah? Okay. So, guys, I'm saying, sometimes, it's good to relax, and just talk to your team members and understand what is it that they are facing. Do they really understand their job? Have you communicated properly? Because if you don't communicate properly, the work moves very, very slow. So immediately when Isaac, for instance, Isaac Balema communicated and told us, okay, guys, we don't have internet here. Okay? We don't have internet here. So GDP, you're making people laugh. You're driving so fast, eh? Eh? Okay. Guys, okay, sorry about that. I get scared when I'm being driven. No problem, but he's a good driver. ZDB is a great driver, but I think, we're in the highway. We have to take care of ourselves. So I just want to feel comfortable so that I can continue with the class. So I was telling you guys that when you're in pre-production, the most important thing is to communicate. Let people know what is their job, what time do they need to do the job, and when. Then I'm going to talk quickly to you about the importance of the pre-production work that we are doing. How does it help add value to the film, and how does it help in the overall communication of the film? So this is very, very important. You guys, you just like the jokes. Yeah? Okay. Thank you. I can see you're saying, ZDB, don't go too fast. Oh, I'm enjoying this class. Thank you. I know that must be Nina. Yeah? Or I don't know, maybe Yomi. Somebody from Nigeria, because I've seen the word. Oh. Okay. Thank you. Okay, guys. So let's continue. So I was talking about those three things which are very, very important. Making sure that you communicate, you give the timelines, and you give the deadlines. You communicate, you tell people this is the job I want you to do, this is by when I want you to finish doing this job, and these are the rules and regulations for me to be able to work with you guys. So that will be very important. I'm feeling like I should show you my scenery. We're in Timau now. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Yeah. Okay. So guys, let's continue with the class. I'm sorry for the distractions. Yeah. So the next point in pre-production that I want us to talk about is the importance of pre-production documents. So the pre-production documents are very important, and they help you communicate the message of your film. So they really help you in communicating the message of your film. For instance, the first thing that you need is a script breakdown. I talked about this a lot. It needs to be so accurate and telling us what is everything that is needed in your production, from props to costumes to actors and all that. So, how does that help communicate? Now, when you see me asking for these documents, it's because it helps communicate to me what do you need. So, remember how to measure whether your script breakdown is good. If you think there is anything you'll need in the film and it's not written in the script breakdown, please note it will not be included in the budget. So you're not going to have it when shooting, and that's going to end up being a problem for you. I don't know whether you guys are understanding me on that point. If you think that anything will be missing in your project, anything at all will be missing in your project, then you need to understand, you know, that the script breakdown is the document that the producer uses to make the budget. That's the formal communication. So, and I want to put this in perspective because I'm really going to do it. And this is the perspective, and this is for Crystal and the entire production team. I'm going to work, point by point on anything in the production script breakdown. If you come on set and ask me for something which is not in the production script breakdown, I'm not going to provide it. You're going mtajipanga, you know? You're going to see where you're going to get it from. So the production script breakdown is important because it helps me as a producer, have a formal document and you have your evidence, which you can table before the court of law, by the way, to show this is the script breakdown. We emailed it to our producer. Our producer knew that we needed this and they never provided this. You understand? Film is serious business. Everything needs to be in a document which is showing what is it that you're doing, what is it that you're planning. That's very, very important. Then the next thing I want to talk to you guys about. Now, even after you've done all that, you've done your script breakdown and you come up with your budget. So that's one important pre production document in communication. The other thing is you cannot assume that everybody in your production knows all about, whatever concept you have for your film. You cannot assume everyone knows about whatever creative concept you have for your film. So you have to outline every creative process. For instance, you need to do a mood board to just be able to show as a production designer. This is what I'm thinking when it comes to costume. This is what I'm thinking when it comes to location. Now, I'll tell you one thing. Right now, I'm on location scouting with ZDB. But you know what? I'm going to do that location scouting based on the image on my head because the chief production designer did not write the mood board. So I'm becoming the production designer. I'm thinking about the set and I'm locking it. I'm not leaving there, then coming back again next week to come and book. I'm locking and locking as I go. Okay. So I say this is the production day. We are coming back and this is what we'll need to do. So that will be very, very key for you guys to understand. Sorry, I need some little of this fresh air. Um, Great. It's a very beautiful place. Maybe you can see a bit. Yeah, so these are the kind of locations we're looking at. So I want to talk to you guys now about, you know, the next thing that I want us to talk about, the next document that I want us to talk production. And the document, the document that we want to talk about after you've done your budget, you want to do your mood board in production design. That's very, very important. Then you also want to make sure that the mood board has coach and everything, such that when I look